I came home early from work, and the two of them were in the living room, acting like it was normal. I forgot my lunch in the car and went back to the house to grab it, expecting to be back at the office in under 20 minutes. It was a Monday, busy as hell, and I had a report to finish before the afternoon meeting. I wasn't looking for anything out of the ordinary, but when I opened the door, I heard them laughing. I stood there in the doorway, my hand still on the handle, just frozen. My first thought was that I was hearing things wrong. Maybe they were just talking. Maybe she was on the phone with someone, and her voice was just loud enough to trick me into thinking I heard two people. But then I stepped into the living room, and I saw them both clearly. Jenna was sitting on the couch, legs tucked under her, her head tilted back in that way she did when she laughed at something someone said. She looked comfortable, too comfortable. And Jason, the guy she'd been working with for months, was sitting beside her. He had his arm draped across the back of the couch, close enough that his hand was brushing against her shoulder. I didn't know what to say at first. It felt like I was suffocating, like the air had been sucked out of the room. For a second, I just stood there, watching them, trying to process what was happening. Jenna didn't notice me at first. She was still laughing at something Jason had just said, her whole face glowing with that smile I loved. But when she finally turned her head and saw me, the color drained from her face. "Dan, I didn't expect you back so soon," she stammered, the words coming out in a rush, almost too fast. She straightened up, pulling her legs off the couch and sitting stiffly. Jason, on the other hand, looked up at me, his expression unreadable. For a moment, no one said anything. It was like time had stopped. My brain was firing on all cylinders, trying to figure out if I'd just walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. But the longer I stood there, the more my gut twisted. I wasn't stupid. I knew what this looked like. I took a deep breath and finally managed to say something, my voice surprisingly calm, considering how much my heart was pounding. "What's going on?" The words barely felt real coming out of my mouth. Jenna was shaking her head, a nervous laugh escaping her. "Nothing, Dan. Really, it's nothing. Jason just came over to hang out for a bit." My eyes flicked over to Jason, who was still sitting there too casually for my liking. "Hang out," I repeated. My voice was starting to crack now, and I couldn't keep the anger out of it. "Since when do you and Jason just hang out?" She stood up now, her hands wringing together in that way I'd seen a million times when she was nervous or guilty. "We've been talking more lately. About work and stuff. It's no big deal, I swear." I looked at Jason again, trying to read him. He just gave me this kind of half smile, like he was the guest in my house who'd accidentally been caught in some awkward situation, but didn't really know how to get out of it. "We're just friends, man," he said, the words so casual, like that made everything okay. But I wasn't buying it. Something in my chest told me that this wasn't normal. I took a slow step forward, still not fully understanding what was happening. "Friends?" I asked, my voice low now. "This is your idea of friends?" Jenna stepped between us, trying to block my view of him. "Dan, please. Can we talk about this?" she said, her voice almost pleading now, but there was no hiding the panic in her eyes. I couldn't help myself. "What's going on, Jenna?" I asked again, more forcefully this time, the frustration spilling over. "Why the hell is he here? Why are you acting like this is normal? Are you really telling me that there's nothing going on between you two?" Jenna opened her mouth to say something, but then she just stopped. She closed her eyes for a second, like she was trying to gather her thoughts, but the silence between us felt so heavy, so thick that I could barely breathe. Jason didn't move. He didn't say anything. He just watched us, looking almost like he was waiting for Jenna to handle it. When she finally looked back at me, her eyes were filled with something else now. Guilt. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. "Dan, I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she said, her voice quieter now, and she took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry, okay? I never wanted you to find out this way." I didn't know what to say. I couldn't find the words. I just stood there, staring at her, my entire body feeling like it was on fire. Jason's presence in that room, sitting on the couch, acting so at ease, was like an insult. Every second that went by made my blood boil more, and I just wanted to scream, but instead, I felt like I was choking. I finally spoke, my voice barely above a whisper. "So, this has been going on for a while, hasn't it?" Jenna's eyes flicked down, and I saw the tiniest nod. I shook my head, trying to process it. How long? I asked, but I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. It's been a couple of months, she said, her voice tight with shame. We've been talking, getting closer. I didn't know how to tell you. I wasn't ready. A couple of months? The words hit me like a punch to the gut. It felt like everything had just collapsed in on itself. My hand was shaking now, my fists clenched at my sides. You've been seeing him for months? Jenna reached out like she was going to touch my arm, but I jerked back. No, don't. Just don't touch me, I said, feeling like I might snap. I'm trying to understand how this even happened. Why didn't you just tell me you weren't happy? Why did you have to go behind my back? Why him? She swallowed hard, a tear slipping down her cheek. I never wanted to hurt you, Dan. I swear. But I've felt so disconnected lately. I didn't know how to fix it. And Jason made me feel seen. It was never supposed to go this far, but it did. My stomach turned. I wanted to scream, to yell at her for what she'd done, but all I could do was stand there, numb, listening to her voice crack as she tried to explain it away. The worst part was that she wasn't even looking at me anymore. Her gaze was cast down, her face flushed with shame, and all I could think was, how did I not see this coming? Jason was still sitting there, completely silent. His presence in the room felt like a betrayal all its own. I couldn't even look at him. Get out, I said, my voice cold and clipped. Jenna turned to me, her face desperate. Dan, please don't make him leave. We can talk about this, okay? We can. No, I interrupted, my voice sharp. I don't want him here. I don't want either of you here right now. There was a long silence as Jenna just stood there, blinking back tears, and Jason finally stood up, his face unreadable. He didn't say a word as he grabbed his jacket and walked out the door. I watched him leave, and then I turned back to Jenna. The words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat, and I felt this strange mixture of rage and heartbreak building inside of me. I didn't know what to do with any of it. When the door shut behind him, Jenna stood there, looking at me, and it hit me. She was still asking for forgiveness, still trying to explain herself. But in that moment, I knew something fundamental had broken between us, something I didn't think could ever be repaired. I didn't know what came next, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't go back to the way things were. Part 2. I watched the door click shut behind Jason, and the silence in the room felt suffocating. The kind of silence that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the person standing in front of you. Jenna stood there, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. I could see the tears threatening to spill, but she didn't make a sound. For a few seconds, we both just stared at each other. I didn't know what to do next. My mind was racing, going 100 different directions. How could she? The betrayal stung in a way I wasn't prepared for, like it was something physical twisting deep inside my chest. She'd been seeing Jason for months. Months. And I had no idea. None. I felt like a fool, and worse, I felt angry, furious, but I didn't know where to direct that anger. Was it all on her? Or was some of it on me, for not seeing it sooner? Dan, please, Jenna whispered, her voice cracking. She stepped toward me, and instinctively I took a step back. My throat tightened, and I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to yell at her, scream until my lungs burned, but I knew it wouldn't help. Nothing would make this better now. You're sorry? I finally managed to say, my voice low and cold, like it wasn't even mine anymore. You're sorry. Jenna nodded, tears streaming down her face. I never meant for this to happen. It just did. We were friends at first, just talking about work, but it felt like more. And then, I don't know, it just happened. Just happened. The words felt like a slap to my face. I didn't care about the details, didn't care about whatever justification she was offering. The truth was simple. She had betrayed me. And no amount of explanations, no tearful apologies was going to change that. I took another step back. I don't even know who you are anymore, I said, my voice barely a whisper. The words tasted bitter in my mouth, like I just swallowed glass. She flinched at that, but she didn't step forward again. Instead, she just stood there, staring at me, her face crumpling. Dan, please. I don't want to lose you. I love you. I swear, I made a mistake, and I'll do anything to fix it. The desperation in her voice almost made me feel guilty. Almost. But I couldn't stop myself. I felt so much rage boiling up inside me. It was all I could do to keep from exploding. She loved me? She loved me. And she did this? How was I supposed to even process that? How could I go back to the way things were after everything I had just learned? How long has this been going on, Jenna? I asked, my voice trembling with the effort to stay calm. How long have you been lying to me? How long have you been seeing him behind my back? Her eyes filled with tears, and she wiped her face with the back of her hand. A couple of months. Maybe a little longer. I don't know. I swallowed hard. It was like someone had ripped the rug out from under me, and now I was just floating, trying to grab onto something, anything to steady myself. A couple of months, I repeated. My stomach twisted painfully. You've been seeing him while we've been together, while we've been living in this house. While I've been here, thinking everything was fine. She nodded, and her voice came out in a broken whisper. I know. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could fix it, I swear. I just didn't know what to do. I shook my head, disgust crawling on my spine. Fix it? Jenna, you did hurt me. You've been hurting me for months, and I didn't even know it. You didn't just make a mistake, you betrayed me. And you lied to my face every single day. She opened her mouth to speak, but I held up my hand, cutting her off. I don't want to hear it. I can't do this right now. I didn't know what to do with the anger inside me. It felt like it was suffocating me, like I was drowning in it. I needed to get out. I needed space to think, to breathe. But I couldn't even think straight. I felt like I was losing control of my own emotions. I don't know if I can forgive you for this, Jenna, I said quietly, though every word felt like it was being torn from my throat. I don't know if I could trust you again. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Jenna took a few tentative steps toward me, but I stepped back again. I wasn't ready. I couldn't be. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice cracking. I'm so sorry, Dan. Please don't leave me. Please. I had no answer. I couldn't even look at her anymore. I couldn't even look at the woman I thought I knew. Instead, I turned and walked out of the living room, heading for the front door. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. I just needed to get out. But before I could reach the door, she called my name. Dan, please, don't go. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. I stood there for a few seconds, just staring at the door. Part of me wanted to turn around, to tell her everything would be okay, that we could figure it out. But another part of me, the part that was broken, the part that didn't trust her anymore, wanted to keep walking. Don't come after me, Jenna, I said, my voice low but firm. I need space. I can't do this right now. And with that, I opened the door and stepped out into the night, not even bothering to close it behind me. I needed time to think. I needed time to be away from her. But most of all, I needed time to figure out if this was even something worth saving. I don't know how long I walked. The streets were empty, the city feeling quieter than usual, like the world was holding its breath along with me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch something. But instead, I just kept walking, letting the cool air burn my skin as I tried to make sense of everything. How did it come to this? By the time I finally stopped, I was standing at the edge of a park. The trees were swaying gently in the breeze, and the lights from nearby buildings cast long shadows on the ground. I sat down on a bench, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Jenna again. I stared at the screen, but I didn't pick it up. I couldn't. Not right now. I needed distance. I needed clarity, and I needed to stop thinking about how much I still wanted to fix this. But I knew I couldn't. Not if I was ever going to heal.